Hello guys and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dreamstar Fighting Marigold. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined in audio form only by Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you today, good sir?
I'm fantastic as always, my friend. And yes, just audio form for Uncle MT, as the old saying, you have to get it in when you can fit it in. And just between my schedule, your schedule, and the fact that we are impending on 2 more snowstorms over here in northeastern Pennsylvania in the next 3 days. So, yeah, that's all sorts of really, really fun. But yeah, we try to, I always say you got to maximize every minute you get in the day. And this is just really the only time that me and you can talk about some fantastic wrestling from Marigold, including a phenomenal main event, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But brother, I'm good, blessed, better than I deserve to be. How's everything in your neck of the woods?
Cannot complain at all, my friend. And you're absolutely right. This show was great. That especially those last 3 matches, really, really good. We've got lots of different things to talk about today. We apologize for the delay in this episode, and it is 100% my fault. I was under the impression that obviously Marigold ran their show in Shinjuku Hall on Tuesday as we record, so yesterday, and I thought it was uploaded to Wrestle Universe today, the 12th. So I told Matt, right, let's hold off. We'll give this show time to air, and then of course it doesn't come out till tomorrow. So all of this was in vain. So again, I apologize, entirely my fault. But yeah, like I said, all good, my friend. I'm looking forward to talking about this show. It feels like ages since we've talked some Marigold, with there being such a big break between shows, but a good show, great main event. I feel like arguably a little bit of redemption for Victoria Yuzuki, who's been subject to some criticism online, and I think not only shut those critics up, but also having the audacity to do the triple moonsault again, despite that being something that was picked up by critics online, and to absolutely nail it just goes to show why she is the future ace of this company. Tremendous stuff, and again, a really, really good match. But before we get into any of that, and if you're wondering why we are sort of firing through today's episode, it's because, as you can see by Mr. Matt Turner's audio avatar, we are doing this effectively on his lunch break. So this is the dedication that Mr. Turner delivers to every single one of you on a weekly basis. When he's not sleeping, he's podcasting. But Matt, we're going to turn to just one bit of news today. The stuff that relates to Stardom, I'm going to leave for the Stardom cast. There is one bit of news, and it's unfortunately something of a broken record when it comes to Marigold. And I said this before, I don't know who has broken a mirror or has walked under a ladder when it comes to Marigold over the last 2 months or so, but they have been hit with an injury bug like nobody's business. Unfortunately, the latest person to be added to that list is Naho Yamada, who is reported sustained a knee injury on the show on the 7th from Shinjuku FACE, which we're going to be reviewing today. And because of that, it was announced that she will be pulled from the show in Shinjuku Hall on the 11th. It has since also been reported that she will be missing the show on the 14th in Sendai Pit. That card has been changed, and we'll go through that a little bit later on. But Matt, again, what a devastating time this is for Marigold's roster. I mean, you've got Koki Amare out with an ACL injury, who is hoping to be back for May. You've got Kazuna Tanaka out with her back. You've got Kimomo Minami out with her knee. You've got Hummingbird out with her knee. You've got Nagisa Takibana out with her ribs. You add Naho Yamada to that, and honestly, it's rife at the moment. And obviously, before we sort of discuss it any further, the main sort of focus of this is to wish Naho Yamada a speedy return to the ring, because she, we've both said about how entertaining we find her and how much of a how much of a shining light she is on these cards. We really, really do enjoy her, just the passion that she brings to the ring, her entrance, the way that she's able to connect with the crowd. It's a shame that unfortunately she's going to be missing from at least the next 2 shows.
Yeah, again, Marigold's doing a great job of introducing us to newer wrestlers that we've never seen before. Again, I know majority of Marigold's fan base, especially me and you, my friend, basically just only watch Stardom, and now we're bleeding over into this great company that's Marigold. Obviously, we didn't know a year ago who Miko Ano was, or Natsumi Shozuki was, or some of these other Naui Ishikawa, other than she was the fake Tam. So Marigold's doing a great job introducing us to newer and really great Joshi wrestlers. And Naho Yamada, over the last month or two, we've really been singing her praises. Like, she's almost like the new fantastic, phenomenal wrestler in this ever-growing company. And again, you just made mention just the passion and love she has for pro wrestling. It's, again, not only just being great in ring, but being great curtain to curtain. She comes out singing her theme. She, so much passion. She's so infectious with the crowd. She does a great job getting the crowd going. And she's like the perfect, at least right now, in my opinion, this part of her career, she's the perfect opening match wrestler to get the crowd really pumped up. Do I think she's going to be a future Superfly champion? Probably, sure. Do I think that she has the ability to challenge and even win the pure white belt or the world championship for Marigold in the next 3 or 4 years? Yeah, it's a really good possibility because she has so much passion and enthusiasm for pro wrestling. And it's just a shame. I saw that, it was reported a few days ago that she's going to be out a few days with the injury. It's just like, oh, another one add to this roster, especially somebody that we've only been seeing wrestle the past 2 or 3 months here in Marigold, and somebody that we instantly fell in love with as a competitor. But yeah, it's a shame. Hopefully, she'll be back sooner than later, but obviously come back 100% healthy. As we always say when we report these injuries, which seems to be like every episode, is we don't want these wrestlers coming back too early and they have to go back on the shelf. So our best well wishes to all the wrestlers over Marigold that are nursing some injuries, especially our new favorite one, Naho Yamada, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a shame because it did feel like she was getting a lot of praise. She was doing some really good teaming with Miko Ano. She did some really good stuff with Natsumi Shozuki as well. It's a shame that has now been cut short. Something else you've got to take into account here is the fact that not only have you got 6 now members of the roster out for, apart from Nagisa Takibana, who's slated to be back by the end of February, you've got Koki Amare, who's saying that she's going to be back by the end of May. I'm skeptical of that. Fingers crossed she's back by May and she's fit and healthy and ready to go. But, an ACL is nothing to sneeze at all, no matter how bad the tear is. But apart from that, we don't know when these wrestlers are going to be back. We heard Hummingbird was out when she injured herself on the 11th of January. We've heard nothing else about her. Kiyazuna Tanaka, we've heard nothing about her back. We just know that it was going to be around 2 months, which hopefully sees her back at the end of this month. Komomo Minami, she's injured her medial collateral ligament and the meniscus in her knee. It could be 6-7 months before we see Komomo Minami again. Not only is this devastating for the wrestlers, it's devastating for Marigold. It's also putting a lot of strain on the rest of the roster as well, because, and we've mentioned this before, when you do compare them to a Stardom, which we don't like to do, but Stardom have a very deep roster. And when they had their own injury crisis at the end of 2023, when, it seemed that every single day a different wrestler was going down with injury, they did just about have enough wrestlers to get by. But in terms of Marigold, who are still a very, very young company, it's putting a lot of strain on those wrestlers who are still there to perform for longer periods of time. And obviously, that's when potentially more injuries happen. It's a horrible, vicious cycle when it comes to this. Thankfully, the wrestlers that are left have been doing a tremendous job. I think Ryoko Sakimura has stepped up. I think Minami Yuki has really stepped up as well. And we're going to be talking about her match with Utami Hayashishita. And we don't need anyone else on the roster because we have our Lord and Savior Megaton. So, we don't need anyone else on this roster, Matt. But no, in all seriousness, we wish nothing but the best to everyone that is currently nursing injuries, and fingers crossed we see people start to make returns. That's the news we want to be reporting. We're seeing Kazuna Tanaka back. I'm wondering if we see Kazuna Tanaka back start of March. Obviously, we've got I believe, is it Spring Rising? The Spring Victory and Rising Spirit, I think, are the two next tours, and I can't remember which one's which, but I'm wondering if we are waiting till the end of the New Year Golden Garden tour and we'll see Kazuna Tanaka back. And obviously Nagisa Takibana is back at the end of this month as well. So fingers crossed, Mr. Turner, fingers crossed. And with that, let's delve into the one show that we are going to be reviewing today. It's night 7 of the New Year Golden Garden Tour, live from Shinjuku FACE. And like I said, this was live on Wrestle Universe. The announced attendance inside Shinjuku FACE, 356, a pretty healthy number. It's the third time Marigold have run the venue, and though no attendance was announced for the year-end show in December 2024, and that was the show that had the Rookie of the Year tournament won by Minami Yuki and the Rumble as well. Now, I know that 356 is a 23.3% decrease from the last recorded attendance Marigold had at the venue. And if you remember, that was the 464 that they drew on the 13th of December, 2024. It is worth noting that show did have the rescheduled Marigold World Championship match between Sari and Nanae Takahashi, and the Twin Star Championship match as well between Mirai Saku and Dark Wolf Army. So it was a big card. So yes, okay, on the face of it, 356 versus 464, it is a decrease. However, again, I would argue that this is a decent enough attendance when you consider that there's no white belt championship, no red belt championship, no Sari. There are injuries aplenty. I think it's still a very good number. And just to emphasize that, 356 is the third largest, attendance of 2025 for Marigold, the largest non-pay-per-view and non-Korakuen Hall crowd, and it's actually the largest non-Korakuen Hall crowd since the aforementioned Shinjuku FACE show. So a healthy attendance, even though on the face of it, it might seem like a big dip in attendance.
Yeah, a really solid number, my friend. You're absolutely right. No red belt match, no pure white belt match, no Sari. You have all these injuries. So 356 people, again, as you mentioned, it's a 23% decrease. Still a really, really solid number, as again, people are still kind of hurting a little bit financially after the holidays. Again, I've been in sales 17, 18 years. I always know the first, month or two after the holidays is a really kind of a downtime. And as you said before, no Sari, no big championship match, as far as the pure white belt goes or the World of Marigold championship goes. However, and again, still 356 people, solid number. However, they got as I mentioned at the start of this podcast, they got a phenomenal main event, which we're about to get into, because I can guarantee every single one of those people at the 356 people in Shinjuku FACE were blown away as me and you were, partner, because obviously I know we were texting back and forth after this show aired about how great this championship match was, and I really think Stardom has a star on their hand. Not Stardom. Marigold has a star on their hand. Just needs a little bit of a push in one Misa Matsui, because she was phenomenal in this main event.
Oh, yeah, she is a commodity without a shadow of a doubt. We talked about Naho Yamada and how much we've been impressed with Naho Yamada and her development. And we've talked a little bit as well, and we're going to talk a little bit later about potential challenges for Utami, people being on the level to challenge for that red belt. And, Misa Matsui is a name that comes up all the time when we're talking about Marigold, or when we're texting back and forth about Marigold. And someone who, with the right direction, with the right push, I feel like Misa Matsui is on that level, because in ring she is absolutely tremendous, no matter who she is in ring with. Tremendous match here with Victoria Yuzuki. She had a great match with Nanae Takahashi the last time we podcasted. She's had great matches with Natsumi Shozuki. It's a case of she is excellent in ring. Now we just need to give her that direction. And it's like we said with the Dream Star last year, we knew that she was going to put on great matches, but we also knew she was going to either be the opening match or the second match on the card. I think with a little bit more of a push, perhaps a little bit more momentum, Misa Matsui is a legitimate challenger for that white belt right now. And I would argue that in probably 6 months, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Misa Matsui challenge Utami for the red belt. It's a match that Utami said in the interview that we did with her. It was a match that she was really intrigued by. And I think that Misa Matsui has the ability, without a shadow of a doubt, to make that a fantastic match. That's a match that I want to see now, never mind in 6 months. Moving on then to the results of this show. We open with a singles match. Naoya Ishikawa defeated Ryoko Sakamura with a body slam in 7 minutes and 50 seconds. We then move to a tag team match. The Dark Wolf Army team of Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki defeated Ria Sato and Riara. Nagisa Nozaki flattening Riara with a Noir Lancer in 8 minutes and 11 seconds. In a singles match, Mirai defeated Megaton, unsurprisingly, with the modified arm breaker in 8 minutes and 48 seconds, though that does have ramifications that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. Singles match, Utami Hayashishita defeated Minami Yuki with the German suplex in 7 minutes and 4 seconds. Tag team match, the Twin Star champions in non-title action, Nanae Takahashi and Seri Yamaoka defeated Natsumi Shozuki and Chika Goto. Seri Yamaoka defeating Chika Goto with a German suplex of her own in 13 minutes and 34 seconds. Tag team action, Mai Sakurai and Chan Yota making her Marigold debut, defeated Miko Ano and Naho Yamada. Chan Yota pinning Naho Yamada with the jackhammer in 14 minutes and 1 second. And then in your main event, the Marigold Superfly Championship match, the champion, your second champion, Victoria Yuzuki, defeated Misa Matsui, the challenger, with the triple moonsault in 14 minutes and 49 seconds to achieve her V2. That, of course, is Misa Matsui's third attempt at the Superfly Championship. And we'll see how Marigold dealt with that statistic a little bit later on, because it's an interesting way and it's opened up a lot of avenues, which I'm very excited about. But before we get into that main event, Matt, let's talk about the opener, Naoya Ishikawa and Ryoko Sakamura. Whilst we were talking about the news and we were saying about how certain talents have stepped up, Ryoko Sakamura is incredibly young into her career. And because I think potentially of the injury to Nagisa Takibana, she has been sort of thrust into a lot of singles matches. And, it's very much a case of, right, you either sink or you swim. And I think that she is doing a very, very good job here. I think Naoya Ishikawa actually gave her quite a lot here. In fact, the only real note that I have is how strange that she finished her with a body slam. But aside from that, I thought this was a solid opener. I've been impressed with the development of Ryoko Sakamura. Now Ishikawa is incredibly over and, again, is growing in confidence every time she steps into the ring. I think that she's another one that you can look at pushing up that card a little bit later on this year. What did you think about this, Matt?
Yeah, I agree. Ryoko is somebody that's really impressive. She just needs more reps. She's only had a handful of matches, constantly getting reps. And these are the right kind of reps. Now Ishikawa, she's not a main eventer in Marigold, at least yet. Not yet. I mean, now Ishikawa is somebody that is over, somebody that is a terrific, fantastic, solid bell-to-bell wrestler. So Ryoko's only going to get better wrestling somebody like a now Ishikawa. And this was a really terrific opener. And again, not only is Ryoko somebody everly improving bell to bell, but she's somebody that has a little bit of that aura, like a little bit of that it factor already. And that's something that you really can't teach. But the fact that she knows who she is and she's so full of confidence already this young into her career, and then you're just going to add in the ever-improving in-ring work, it's only a matter of time before she becomes a big star for this company. Yeah, a solid enough match. I agree. I was a little head-scratching winning with the body slam, but regardless, a really good back-and-forth 50-50 match, and it's nice seeing now Ishikawa being trusted, giving the rookies a really great match, and this is a really solid opener. 3.25 stars for me.
Wouldn't surprise me, if we see Sakamura being one of the next people to have a passion injection match. I know that we already saw her against Nanae Takahashi, but even so, I want to see it again in a high stakes, well, not necessarily a high stakes singles match that implies title, but again, just sort of right. You've been wrestling for 10 or so matches. Let's see how you go on now, and have Nanae Takahashi bully her around the ring. See how she reacts to it, and I think that could be your next challenge once everybody is back and fighting fit. We move on then to the Dark Wolf Army against Rhea Sato and Riara. I'm a big fan of Riara, and again, I sang the praises of her in the last podcast because she slotted into this role really, really well. But Rhea Sato again continues to impress, but so does Chiaki. Chiaki is someone that I wasn't negative of at the start of the podcast. That's sort of an over-exaggeration. Someone I thought needed direction, and now that she is a part of the Dark Wolf Army, which could potentially be moving into a trio. Ooh, talk about that later. But she's someone that is such a solid hand. You know what you're getting with her. Every single match is tight. Every single match is seamless. And I think her and Nagisa Nozaki, I think they were dealt a little bit of a rough hand, if I'm perfectly honest, with the Twin Star Championships. Especially when you consider that, eventually they were dropped within 16 days. But that's by the by. I'm a big fan of this tag team. I'm a big fan of the aggression that Nagisa Nozaki brings to a match, and I'm, couple that with the sort of underhanded chicken poo, PG heel antics of Chiaki as well. I'm a big fan of that tag team.
Yeah, again, the Dark Wolf Army, they're the only mainstay 100% heels. You have your baby faces, your tweeners and whatnot, but they are the heels that are going to bend and break the rules. And again, they're doing so much a better job breaking the rules, not in front of the referee, and coming up with unique ways to distract the referee. So this way you're not putting any heat on the referee when he catches this cheating. All the heat is going to Nagisa and Chiaki, and they're fantastic at it and getting ever better. We've noticed on these quote unquote, house shows or Wrestle Universe shows, whatever you want to call it, that Nagisa, Nozaki, and Chiaki are always teaming up. So they're constantly getting more reps and constantly getting better. I think they're one of, if not the best tag team in all Marigold right now, because they're the only one that is teaming on a consistent basis. And I agree, partner. I think that their handing of the Twin Star Championship, we thought they would have had a 4 to 6 month run, and again, as you said, it was like 2 weeks, and then they dropped the belts to Tank and Bozilla, and you're kind of just like, I really thought they would have had a run. However, you can always go back to it. There's a possibility that maybe they do get their 6 to 12 month run as the Twin Star Tag Team Champions, and they're only going to be better and get better. And then it's always nice having a babyface tag team chasing a heel tag team to eventually win those championships. And whether that's Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki when she comes back, whether that's Utami and a partner of her choosing, whether it's Kokiyamare and Chika Goto as the Tokyo Towers, who knows? There's a whole bunch of teams can be slotted in there, but they do a great job playing their role as the heels that are cheating to get the advantages and the cheating to get the wins. And you mentioned before, Rhea Sato, somebody that's ever improving. In Riara, again, we've only seen a few times before, and she's slotting in really well to this Marigold roster. So again, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more Riara because, one, she fits in really well to this company. 2, they need the help, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, with all the injuries. And 3, she's doing really well, especially this makeshift tag team she has with Rhea Sato. Again, this is a really good match, a great way to, a really easy story with the heels versus the baby faces. And again, Rhea Sato with those really innovative submissions, I thought was terrific. I thought Riara worked really well with Nagisa Nozaki, especially towards the end. They were properly wailing into each other, where eventually it's Nagisa Nozaki hitting the Noir Lancer for the win. I had this at 3.25 stars.
Yeah, I thought what was really good about Riara is how well she has been playing defense. We haven't seen many matches where she has been offensively dominant, but I think here, especially as she was getting an absolute pasting at the hands of Nagisa Nozaki, especially during that closing stretch, I think she showed a lot of fire, a lot of heart, a lot of determination. And I think she is going to be someone that can be some sort of holding up that lower mid card, which, you know, again, with all those injuries, is something that Marigold sorely need. Moving on to Mirai and Megaton then. Now, Matt, I know that you are Megaton's biggest fan. I think that's fair to say. But, you know, and you acknowledged this on the last podcast, it's all about live reactions. And Megaton gets those live reactions. And I will be perfectly honest, she had me howling with laughter when Mirai is having her chase round the ring and she has to get back in the ring but can't do it, so has to get the steps out from underneath the ring. And then Mirai just kicks her off and she has to do it again. Genuinely, stuff like that. We knew this wasn't going to be a 5-star classic. Okay, you know you're not getting that from Megaton. What you are getting is a comic relief character, especially in these singles matches. You know, she's a pin eater in tags, which we're seeing with Bozilla. She is a singles comedy wrestler in the same vein as a Fukigen in Death. And again, she's over with the crowd to the point where, you know, the crowd were getting really into this, booing Mirai when she was attacking Megaton. But, you know, ultimately this match was simply Mirai tolerating Megaton and then sort of going, right, I've had enough now, and submitting her with a modified arm breaker.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Again, Megaton is, I'm not her biggest fan. However, again, she's over. I'm entertained by her. Don't get me wrong. I'm really entertained by her. Would I rather see that Mirai versus Miko Ano 20 minute, absolutely pure wrestling classic? Absolutely. Regardless, was this fun? Yes. Was it great comic relief? Yes. Does Megaton know who she is and know how to work the crowd and have great crowd psychology? 100%. I mean, every single time that she's in the ring, even when she did the ring announcing, wasn't even wrestling. When she did the ring announcing for Bozilla versus Tank, she got a really great reaction. Again, she knows who she is. Yeah, you get. She knows who she is. She knows her character, and again, she's over with the crowd. And Mirai, who's I don't know, second or third biggest babyface in this company, is getting booed because of she actually wants to wrestle with Megaton, and the crowd kind of just wants comedy. Again, you're not going to have a 5-star classic, but again, she knows who she is. She's a comedic wrestler and has great comedic timing and understands crowd psychology. Again, this was a really fun match. I actually had it at 3.5 stars. Again, it was a fun match. All the little stuff that she was doing to properly just piss Mirai off. You're absolutely right. Once Mirai had enough, it was like, all right, we're going to take this one home. Double armbar, and we will call it a night. Again, really fun stuff from Megaton. She's somebody, again, that is completely different. She stands out from this roster because there's nobody else that really does the comedic wrestling, nobody else that has her look. And again, she's somebody that stands out on this roster that has your fantastic wrestlers like an Utami, like a Mirai, like a Misa Matsui, like a Miko Ano, and so on and so forth. She has her niche in Marigold, and I think she plays it really well. And you can only applaud that. You can only applaud that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can only have so many red belt champions. And, you know, I think Megaton found someone who sort of the comedy bounced off really well in Mirai, because Mirai gave her just enough in terms of comedy, but also you could see she was winding her up and stuff like that, you know, playing off it. And then we got the stoic sort of, right, now I'm going to obliterate you with, you know, a lariat and a modified arm breaker. I thought they worked really well together. And Megaton, yeah, again, she's never going to be your red belt champion. You know what you are getting with her. And, you know, what people have got to realize is, you know, these are effectively house shows. So having something like this, saving your Mirai versus using Miko Ano because you mentioned her, or, you know, a Natsumi Shizuki, you want those on your bigger shows, in your Nagoyas or in Korakuen Hall or something like that, you know. So matches like this on shows that are effectively house shows, I am absolutely fine with. And again, the crowd reacting really well to Megaton, I have no issues with this whatsoever. Moving on then to Utami Hayashishita and Minami Yuki. And again, for our YouTube viewers, these match graphics are absolutely beautiful. Really well done. The fact that the titles are the only thing in color, magically done. So whoever's done them, kudos to you. But yes, obviously Utami versus Minami Yuki. Minami Yuki, our rookie of the year. Utami was less than complimentary at the end of the match, saying, really, this is the level of our rookie of the year. I must disagree with our Marigold World Champion, because I thought Minami Yuki put in a tremendous performance. And actually, probably since Christmas, we've seen a real improvement and development of Minami Yuki in ring. I mean, it has been forced, I think, again, through the injuries, but I think she has been doing tremendously well. We've seen her in a lot of multi-woman main events where, yes, she has been the fall person, but she's been very, very good as that baby face, looking for that fighting spirit, you know, being bludgeoned by, you know, the likes of Bozilla or even like a Nanae. I think she does tremendously well in those matches. I think she's doing very well here. And I think that development of, you know, those constant reps, which you're always talking about, Matt, I think she is the embodiment of the progress that can be made when you are put into those positions.
Yeah, again, when we talk about reps from these younger wrestlers and reps with the right people, and this is the reps with literally the best person, and not only Marigold, but one of the best wrestlers in the entire world, regardless of country and gender, with one Utami Hayashisa. So again, when this match was announced, I'm like, this is going to be a great showcase for Minami Yuki. Obviously, we know Utami was going to go over. And Utami was a little bit dominant there, especially towards the end. But again, 7 minutes, you're in the ring with the champion, the best wrestler in this company, one of the best wrestlers in the world. You're only going to learn you're going to learn so much. You're obviously going to get better, not only in those 7 minutes, but when you're putting that match together behind the scenes, whatever Utami's calling, I'm sure she's saying, I want you to do this, and here's the reason why. And I'm sure once the match was over, Utami took Minami over and was like, hey, you did this right. Here's how you can make it better. So again, not only that 7 minutes was she learning, but probably before the match and after the match. And again, this is the best way to get more talent ready for, you know, the white belt scene or for the red belt scene in Marigold, is to take this opening card talent or this middle of the card talent that is still very young, still obviously eager to learn. Well, I mean, they're always eager to learn, and putting them in the ring with the Utamis, the Mirais, the Nanaes, they're only going to get better. So I had this at 3.5 stars. Again, by no means was this Utami versus Sherry from the Cinderella finals a few years ago, but at the same time, I like the fact that, again, it's a singles match. And it's just her and Utami. There's no tag partner. There's no other person in there to kind of tag out and to take a breath. You're literally feet to the fire. One of the best wrestlers on the planet. I thought she did really well here. And again, Utami did a good job lifting her up, and she's only to go and get better. 3.5 stars for me. But again, the main crux for me as a pro wrestler is you're taking basically an opening of the card talent and putting in the ring with the main eventer that's only going to lift up Minami Yuki. So good on her, partner. Good on her, because I thought she was fantastic here.
And something that I didn't mention, actually, and I should have done earlier on, post Mirai and Megaton, Mirai said that she wanted Bozilla in a singles match. Now, if that is put onto the Korakuen Hall show, which of course we've got coming up in 8 days as we record on the 20th of February, that could be an unofficial sort of Marigold World Championship #1 contendership match. I am of the opinion, Matt, that we should hold off Utami versus Mirai. You know, I've said on this podcast before that I think if the 3rd of January show, the 3rd of January pay-per-view is made a regular thing for Marigold, that Utami and Mirai is, you know, a great main event for one of those pay-per-views. However, Utami versus Bozilla as the next title defense, we've seen what Bozilla can do against the likes of Asari, for example. A great match that was. If we can have Utami versus Bozilla, I know that that's going to be great. You look at Bozilla's contract as well. If we are to assume, you know, I think it's safe to assume it's going to be a year's contract because, you know, 9 months has gone because that's when Myla Grace left. 3 months has gone because that was when Zeta Steele left. So the next run up is a year. I think it's probably going to be a year's contract, which means that we are coming to the end of Bozilla's tenure in Marigold. Why not send her off with a great singles match against Utami for that world championship? One final chance at that red belt before she leaves. Mirai, again, you know, there's no shame in losing to Bozilla. And again, Mirai is going to be one of the temples of this company. I have every faith that she will, in my opinion, she should be the next winner of the Dream Star, and she should challenge Utami at First Dream next year. But that's just me. What about you?
Great points on both hands, and I know me and you've had conversations on air and off air about Mirai versus Utami being the big red belt match to start off 2026. I agree. However, I still think you can do it. I would do that match in a month or two, Utami versus Mirai, have Utami get the big win, and then slowly build Mirai back up, have her win the Dream Star, and then run it back. Again, we've seen Rossi do this booking before in Stardom. With how many times has Mayu tried to overcome the impossible odds that was Io Shirai and finally doing it? And you, even if you just look back just a couple years ago when when Sherry first became red belt champion, that her and Julia had that fantastic match at World Climax, and you broke Julia down, you brought her back up, she wins the 2022 5-star, and at the end of the year she defeats Sherry. So we've seen Rossi do that booking before. I mean, even Azumi, Starlight Kid, Natsupoi, breaking them down in the high-speed division, then building them back up to eventually win that respective championship. So you can do it here, work then. Why won't it work now? You can do that with Mirai. And again, we made mention on the last episode that we did is there's not a lot of people that are ready for that Force of Habit, that World of Marigold Red Belt Challenge. And we know that Mirai is there, but at the same time, do you pull the trigger on it now or do you wait? At the same time, job is to sell tickets. You want to be selling tickets, as many tickets as possible for each and every show. So I think if you do that with Utami versus Mirai, have Utami get the win, in a month or two at the next one of the next Korakuen Hall shows, and then you build Mirai back up, and then you have a proper, 3-4 month build to Mirai. In the meantime, you're already building up Utami as this killer champion, defeating Bozilla, defeating a Miko Ano, defeating maybe a Misa Matsui. We'll get into it all along the way. And then as we get into the holiday season of this year, then that's where you can do your big Mirai versus Utami match. So a lot of different ways you can go about it. I just want to see it. And I want to see it more than once, my man. Maybe I'm being a little greedy. I want to see it more than once. But that's the way that I've noticed Rossi's booking over these last few years when he was booking Stardom. And why not do it here for Marigold and just do, a couple matches with Utami and Mirai for the richest prize in all of Marigold.
Oh, I mean, we saw it with Shuri. Never mind Shuri and Julia. I mean, she failed to get the belt off Utami in May, won the 5-star that year, and then took the belt off Utami in December at Dream Queendom. So again, you're absolutely right. It's certainly something that Rossi has done on multiple occasions. It's a story we can all invest in, absolutely. And obviously, during that time that we are breaking Mirai down and building it back up, it gives us the opportunity to build more stars in Marigold, give more people those opportunities like a Misa Matsui. Moving on then to the tag team match that saw Nanae and Steady Yamaoka defeating Chika Goto and Natsumi Shozuki. And Matt, these last three matches, as I mentioned before, are absolutely fantastic. This is when there was a noticeable uptick. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I thought that Seri Yamaoka's exchanges, especially with Chika Goto, were really good. And watching this 18-year-old launching Chika Goto across the ring, withstanding the aggression of Natsumi Shozuki and then tossing her around the ring, it's incredibly impressive. And I think having that experienced head in Nanae Takahashi, that hand on the wheel almost guiding her, I think is going to do her a world of good. A really solid tag match. This really enjoyable.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. These first 4 matches were fun. And now we're getting into the main crux of it. These last 3 matches were pretty much must-see. Really, I mean, pretty much just must-see. And we talk about it quite a bit the last few months. It never seems like Chika Goto has come back from her injury. She is really has a chip on her shoulder and something to prove. And then you add in the fact that, again, that match with Koki Amare at First Dream didn't go the way that that she wanted to, because of obviously Koki's untimely injury. And that, unfortunately, that's nobody's fault. It just happens. But she really seems like, okay, I'm going to kick this into another gear. And Chika and Natsumi really made Seri Yamaoka earn this win, because they properly took it to her. And obviously Nanae comes in, she's a house of fire, and then Natsumi and Chika Goto, who out of nowhere have really good tag team chemistry. They really take it to the legend and Nanae in this match as well. And Chika Goto was really, I mean, she was bumping all over the place to the point where, I don't know if you've seen a partner, but she had like a big, like red, like almost like mark on her back. I don't know what
in the middle of her back. Yeah,
I don't know what that was from, but I mean, she was going 110 miles an hour. She was showing fighting spirit. I thought she was terrific. terrific. Again, her stuff with Sarah Yamaoka was amazing. And again, Natsumi Shozuki, her strikes to Sarah Yamaoka and Nanae were great. And again, we know Nanae it's crazy. She's about to hang it up here in about 3 months. And it's, when you're getting ready to retire, it's always about that one or two people you're going to elevate on your way out. And we've been saying for a while that now Ishikawa is somebody that should get a clean win over Nanae before she calls it a career. I think Natsumi Shozuki is somebody else as well, because I think she's another one that can benefit from a big win over Nanae Takahashi, especially during this sequence they had in the middle of this match where Natsumi is just a little bit faster, has a little bit more power in those kicks, and is able to counter a lot of things Nanae is doing and being able to lock her into some submissions. I thought was great. And then Chikagoto gets the giant swing on Nanae. I thought that was terrific. And then they followed that up with Natsumi hitting the double diving knee bomb. Really terrific stuff. Eventually, Nanae comes in, takes out Chikagoto. Chikagoto, it's a big boot on a Nanae. Then you almost get like this great singles match with Sarah Yamaoka and Chikagoto towards the end. But eventually, Sarah pinning Chikagoto with that German suplex that she does hang on to the grip, to that gable grip, and then basically it's a German suplex almost into a roll-up, which I really like because we really don't see that. And again, you already have the German suplex. She's hanging on. She has an amateur background and then is able to use her opponent's own momentum against her after the German suplex for the 3 count. Again, there were so many great storylines in this match. Nanae and Sarah obviously are the tag champs in a non-title match. For Natsumi Shozuki, again, she was terrific here. She's somebody that I would definitely look at maybe to challenge Mai Sakurai, maybe to challenge Utami Hayashishita because she's great. And again, Chikagoto is just somebody that you just root for. Coming back from an injury, not getting the big match that she thought she was going to get with Koki Amare, over with the crowd, putting the work in. She's just somebody that you can easily root for. Again, a catchy catchphrase. I thought this was terrific. A must-see match for me. 4.25 stars.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Natsumi Shozuki and Chikagoto go for the Twin Star titles. I mean, we've seen that they've got great chemistry. We saw actually when Chikagoto was out injured and Natsumi Shozuki went for Miko Ano's white belt. She was wearing Chikagoto's gear. So there's clearly a relationship there. I think they might have been in the same faction in Actress Girls, but again, someone better than me, such as Plug Pedro, will probably be able to tell you more than that. But again, I think they're a very, very good team, and I think putting Natsumi Shozuki in the Twin Star picture and Chikagoto as well, it keeps them relevant and keeps them high up that card, which is where they need to be, especially with Koki Amare out. Really put the spotlight on Chikagoto. Moving on then to your semi-main event, Chanyota making her debut in Marigold in a victory. Her and Mai Sakurai coming out on top, teaming for the first time together in almost a year after they lost against Wingori in February of 2024 for the New Blood Tag Team Championships. And Matt, Chanyota looked very, very impressive. And this, of course, was just after she looked very, very impressive against Nanae Takahashi in PPP Tokyo.
Yeah, this match was all about introducing Chanyota into the Marigold audience. It was clearly this match was built around her. But I tell you what, Miko Ano and Mai Sakurai, phenomenal chemistry. We saw what a phenomenal match they had at the beginning of this year at First Dream, and they're able to dip into that just a little bit to the point like, man, I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch there. I would not mind seeing a rematch there because I thought they were great. Again, the majority of this match is built around Chanyota. We talked at the beginning of this podcast how much we love Naho Yamada. She was phenomenal. Again, these makeshift tag teams she's been in these last month or so with Miko Ano, with Natsumi Shozuki, they just all seem to work for her. Again, another reason why she's so talented, not only as a wrestler, not only on the passionate entrance that she has, but the fact that she can pretty much team with anybody, and it's going to be a great tag match. And this was no exception here. I thought she was terrific here, and I really liked how Mai Sakurai and Chanyota really had to take Naho Yamada to task to get the better of her with the double clotheslines, with the double boots, back and forth. Mai Sakurai eventually taking out Miko Ano, because Miko Ano really started making a great comeback here to try to save save the one Naho Yamada, but eventually Mai Sakurai wipes her out with that beautiful dive to the floor, and then Chanyota hits a huge lariat to Naho Yamada that everyone thought was the finish. Naho Yamada just won't give up. Her passion and love for pro wrestling shines through. She kicks out at 2.999, but Chanyota hits the jackhammer for the 3 count. I like this match almost as much as the last match we talked about, but regardless, it was still a fantastic tag match. 4.25 stars for me. I thought this was great. Again, Miko Ano versus Mai Sakurai is a rematch that I hope we tap back into pretty soon for that pure white belt, because I thought that their match back this year was terrific. And again, Chanyota looks like $1 million, and Naho Yamada, I miss her already, Rob. I miss her already.
We all do, Matt. And obviously, you know, it's a good job that Chanyota was impressive, because post-match, she then made a challenge to her friend and tag partner, Mai Sakurai, for the United National Championship. That has since been confirmed, though it doesn't have a match graphic yet, for the 20th of February in Korakuen Hall. So Chanyota will be challenging Mai Sakurai. It's only their second ever singles match, with Mai Sakurai winning their first back at New Blood 5 in October 2022. But I'm perfectly fine with this as a challenge, Matt. There's history between the pair. I think it will be a great singles match. I think it's a great way to get Mai Sakurai another defense under her belt as well. And also, if we can enlist Chanyota in more Marigold shows, then that's got to be a plus.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because she has name value already. You know, a lot of people know who she was, you know, because of her work in Stardom and her work just doing the Joshi independence. She's somebody that made a name for herself. And then, you know, the fact that she has history there with Mai Sakurai. Obviously, Mai Sakurai is way better now than she was when her and Chanyota teamed up. She was good then, but I mean, Sakurai is just on a completely another level, and there's a reason why she's the pure white belt champion, or as Rob calls them, the un-champion. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just another title defense for Mai Sakurai, and again, you're getting Chanyota out there in front of what's I'm sure going to be a really loud crowd in Korakuen Hall challenging for Sakurai's belt. So yeah, and again, the fact that unfortunately we have all these injuries, but we're filling up some of the roster voids with somebody that has a name out there in Joshi wrestling, and as talented as Chanyota is really only a good thing for Marigold.
So just at the moment, obviously, there has not been, at the time of recording, which probably means that Marigold will release it tomorrow, there hasn't been a card announcement for Korakuen yet. But so far, it is looking like it's going to be Mai Sakurai versus Chanyota for the untitle. Nanae and Seri Yamaoka versus Utami and Victoria Yuzuki for the Twin Star titles. And then Mirai and Bozilla in a singles match. Those are a heavy-hitting 3 matches to top a Korakuen Hall show, man. I know that we've said, it's another Korakuen show without an Utami red belt title defense. However, that's still 3 must-see matches. If you are fans of Marigold, like, there's not one person who is sad about those 3 matches. Yes, it'd be great to see an Utami red belt title defense, and I'm assuming that whoever wins out of Mirai and Bozilla will probably challenge at the end of the Twin Star Championships match. But again, those 3 matches are blockbuster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you said it's not official, Rob. I know how you work, buddy. Are there match graphics that are up as of this recording?
There are no match graphics.
Okay, so not official. Okay, I just purely speculation.
Official.
Purely speculation on those matches, partner. But all joking aside, no, you're absolutely right. We would love to see an Utami red belt match in Korakuen Hall, obviously, because we never, Utami's been champion for almost 2 months now, and we've yet to have it. And it's just because we love Utami and we want to see her in a big championship match in the beloved Korakuen Hall. But regardless, those 3 matches on top, yeah, absolutely. And the fact that every single Korakuen Hall show is live, this will be one that more than likely I will stay up for or wake up early, pending on the time, because those 3 matches, plus how great the rest of the Marigold roster has been underneath, it's going to be a fantastic show in the legendary Korakuen Hall.
Moving on to our main event then, and it is the second Superfly title defense for the second Superfly champion, Victoria Yuzuki, as she defeats Misa Matsui with the triple moonsault. Now, Matt, this was a fantastic match. This was brilliant. This was everything that I loved about both of these women. Victoria Yuzuki is phenomenally talented, is incredibly ambitious with her moveset. And again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, there have been some people online who seem to create accounts simply to hate on things, which I don't understand the negative energy of that, but there we are. For Victoria Yuzuki to, again, it was incredibly bold of her to try the triple moonsault at Ota Ward City Gym. It didn't quite work. Here, to do it again and to execute it as well as she did, I think shows an incredible mental fortitude for someone who is, 20 years old? I think that's incredible stuff. And then you throw in Misa Matsui, who at this point is just one of the highlights of any Marigold show, whether it's a house show or not. We were a little bit pensive, shall we say, about this being Misa Matsui's third opportunity at the Superfly title. And when she challenged, we had a discussion about, okay, so say, the Victoria Yuzuki retains, which is what I think we thought was probably going to happen. How do we do this without doing irreparable damage to Misa Matsui? She lost in the tournament final to crown the first champion. She then lost the rematch with Natsumi Shizuki, and she's now lost to Victoria Yuzuki here. How are we going to package this? And it turns out that with a rather creative suggestion, because it seemed like she was almost kidnapped by the Dark Wolf army, and this sort of bleeds into the Chinichi show where Misa Matsui wins her match, and she's got the Dark Wolf army in her corner, and she doesn't quite know how to react. Now, whether a heel Misa Matsui works, I don't know. If it brings out an edge to her character, gives her, like similar to Chiaki, an identity, make her a member of the Dark Wolf army, absolutely. And if she can see that it's going to get her wins and she joins, you've got the vindication there as well. It's not a heel turn out of nothing. Even if she just wrestles a little bit more aggressively rather than, using chairs and things like that, like Chiaki does, just have Misa Matsui be more aggressive and maybe utilize the odd interference by the Dark Wolf army to get the win, because she's still a phenomenal wrestler, and she showcased that here even in defeat, Matt.
Rob, quick sidebar. You made mention just a few minutes ago about how there's certain people online that just create accounts just to hate watch things. And you kind of just reminded me, me and Andy are part of a face group chat, a wrestling chat. And I think there's 10 people in there. I think I know 2 or 3. But regardless, right? I'm in the chat. I don't say too much. But I found out the other day that there is somebody in the chat. I don't know this. I can hit this person with my car tomorrow, and I don't know this person. I'm sure this person is a nice fellow. But he made mention in the chat that he created a Twitter account just to hate on Tam Nakano. Now, Rob Goodwin.
Whoa.
He's in the wrong chat with the wrong person. And I properly, in the nicest way possible, buried the said individual. And then Heather's like, can you absolutely believe that? I'm like, you can have your opinion, but like, first of all, any wrestler, we talk about this all the time. You're literally going to make an account up just to give Tam Nakano crap. And now that you're in this chat with, Mr. Tam Nakano over here. But regardless, I just thought about that now because I recorded Heather yesterday, and he's like, why would you? He's like, yeah, but you properly went about it, like, bury that guy in the nicest humanly way possible. It's like, hey, I'm a positive person. But regardless, this match was fantastic. I will say, in the short history of Marigold, this is the best Superfly championship match they've had. And obviously, there's been some great ones with Misa and Natsumi, but this was terrific. This was the best performance, tag or singles, I've ever seen from Victoria Yuzuki, and this is the best performance I've ever seen, tag or singles, from Misa Matsui. These two wrestlers putting on the best performance possible that they've had in their young career, and I have a feeling they're going to have better matches than this, which is going to say something, because this was must-see wrestling. And Rob, there is a lot of wrestling in the world going on. to quote friend of the show's Matt Charlton's new book, there's actually a world of wrestling going on out there, and there's only a few times why I will tell my vast amount of friends, stop what you're doing, and when you get a chance, watch a certain match, because I know I have friends of mine that watch TNA, AEW, WWE, Stardom, All Japan, New Japan, so on and so forth. When I say this is a must-see match, I told everybody within an earshot of me saying, you need to see this match from Marigold with Misa Matsui and Victoria Yuzuki, because this is a must-see match. And we did talk about, when we previewed this show last time we recorded, what happens? Does Yuzuki get the win? Does Misa lose another Super Flyweight Championship match, or do they do a time limit draw? I was like, you can go either way as long as it's done right. And I always make mention that when you lose and can get over more by a loss, that says so much about you and so much about your opponent. Misa Matsui got over so much here in a loss, literally to the point, again, me and you were texting right after this match, to the point where it's like, I think what you do with Misa Matsui is you heat her up and then you move her up the card. You give her either a pure white belt championship match, or you give her that Utami World of Marigold red belt championship match. That Utami, and again, cheap plug for our interview we did about 2 months ago, and again, thanks to our good buddy Sonny for making that happen. You give her that match that Utami said she wanted. We asked her, who's the one wrestler Marigold you haven't wrestled yet that you want to? And the number one on our list was Misa Matsui. So you think about this. We keep heating Misa Matsui up. She has that red belt match with Utami. Now, obviously, Utami's going to win, but then how much more is it going to mean, not only for Misa, but for the super flyweight division, once she eventually does win that championship belt? You have somebody that took Utami Hayashishita to the brink of almost defeat and almost beat her for that red belt. Now she's your super flyweight championship. That's going to mean so much more for her, so much more for the division, and obviously so much more for Marigold. Again, I thought Misa was terrific here. New gear, a little bit more aggressive. She was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, to the point where it's just like, she's going to be the person that I'm looking forward to the most on these cards, as well as an Utami Hayashishita. And you know how much I love one Utami Hayashishita. That being said, Victoria Yuzuki, chef's kiss. Absolutely phenomenal. Again, somebody that's only been wrestling a year and a half, and is this good at just about everything. And you made mention at the beginning of the show, the fact that she didn't hit those 3 super crazy style moonsaults as well as she wanted to when she won this belt, but then does it here and does it absolutely perfect. Shows the confidence she has in herself, saying, yeah, they were okay. They could have been better. Let me go do it again. And the fact that she had a better match and it had a better finish, and every one of those moonsaults was absolutely perfect. It's only credit to Victoria Yuzuki, but this was great. Really great stuff back and forth. Some dangerous suplexes back and forth. The great striking, the great psychology, the great near roll-ups. We didn't know which way it was going to go. Again, we thought that Yuzuki was going to win because she just had the championship here. There was so many near falls here that maybe Misa was going to sneak one out on Victoria Yuzuki, to the point where I bid in. Not only that, but the crowd bid in as well. Again, 356 people in Shinjuku FACE were going absolutely wild for this match, and rightfully so. I mean, just excellent stuff. Victoria Yuzuki hitting a super kick into a straight jacket German suplex. I like that combination that she does that really kind of puts Misa down here towards the end. Then after that, she follows up that beautiful straight jacket German suplex with the first, second, and third rope moonsault. Again, this is what I call must-see pro wrestling. Again, there is so much pro wrestling going out there. Again, to quote our buddy Matt Charlton, there is a world of wrestling going on out there. This is one that, I don't care if you watch All Japan, New Japan, WWE. If you're a fan of pro wrestling, you'll be a fan of this match. 4.5 stars for me, my friend. And I'm so excited to see what Victoria Yuzuki is going to do in her next challenge, and what Misa Matsui is going to do to build herself back up. Because again, not only did she look like a star with that new attitude, that new gear look she had, but she went and put on the best performance that best performance. I'm excited. Best performance that she's ever had. I have a feeling we're going to be saying that a lot in 2025 and 2026, because I'm such a huge, massive fan of one Misa Matsui.
I'm really intrigued now with, obviously, Misa Matsui now presumably being cycled away from the Superfly title for a while. Who is the next challenger for Victoria Yuzuki? Obviously, we had Yuki Mashiro, we've had Natsumi Shirozuki, we've had Misa Matsui. who's next? Who qualifies? Maybe now Ishikawa. Maybe I'm looking at the roster now. Rhea Sato could arguably go in there. Is she ready yet?
You know who I bring in, Rob? We saw an outside talent brought in for her first defense.
The human Cadillac Dorian Deville.
Oh, well, oh my goodness.
He has just been released.
Oh my goodness, you're right. Oh man.
Rossi.
Hopefully he's at WrestleCon because we have so many questions for him. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Mei Suruga. Why not bring in Mei Suruga? That would be great. She had one of the best high-speed championship matches in the history of Stardom's high-speed division with that match with Izumi at the 2022 Cinderella. I believe it was the finals. And we've only seen, she's mostly an independent, but bring her in. Just have her come in and maybe, have her win a tag match and have her challenge Victoria Yuzuki. Just could be like a 2-show shot. But again, you're getting Mei Suruga on a bigger stage than, no disrespect to some of the independents that she works at. And that'll be a great shout for Victoria Yuzuki to go on and have a great match with Mei Suruga. That's a match I would love to see. Not only that, but I would love to see Mei Suruga in one of the two big Joshi companies that we cover because I think she's phenomenal.
She is great. She is great. Momoka Hanazono, we've seen her be a part of Marigold shows before. I think she's got 2 appearances in Marigold. So why not bring her in as well? We've seen her challenge for the high-speed title in Stardom and do a fantastic job. I'd like to see her versus Victoria Yuzuki as well. But again, these are all questions that we will hopefully have answers for very, very shortly. Now, before we delve into a gaze at Julia, we have got some card announcements. So Marigold did actually announce their shows for the 14th and the 16th of February a couple of days ago. But of course, especially the show on the 14th from Sendai Pit, that has had to be changed now because of the injury to Naho Yamada. So currently, that show is as follows. We have got Seri Yamaoka versus Rhea Sato, Misa Matsui versus Riara, now Ishikawa versus Ryoko Sakimura. We've got Natsumi Shozuki and Mirai versus Megaton and Bozilla. Mai Sakurai teaming with Miku Ono against the Dark Wolf Army team of Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. And then in what looks to be your main event, perhaps, Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki against Chika Goto and Minami Yuki. So that is the amended card for the 14th in Sendai Pit because of, again, the injury to Naho Yamada. The card for the 16th in Horige Award Public Hall in, I believe, Yokohama is at the moment still the same. It still features Naho Yamada. We will see. I imagine that this is the embodiment of the phrase card subject to change, but that is currently this. Utami Hayashishita versus Minami Yuki, Ryoko Sakimura versus Mai Sakurai, Nanae Takahashi versus Rhea Sato, Miku Ono versus Naho Yamada, Natsumi Shozuki versus Riara. Now, all 5 of those singles matches are listed as challenge matches, with less experienced members of the roster being pitted against more experienced members of the roster. So again, Nanae Takahashi versus Rhea Sato, for example, Natsumi Shozuki versus Riara, for example. Obviously, we've just seen Utami Hayashishita versus Minami Yuki, and then sort of look down on her and say, really, this is the rookie of the year, is it? So I'm looking forward to seeing how Minami Yuki responds to that. And then on the top of this card, we've got Bozilla and Megaton versus Nagisa Nozaki and Chiaki, potentially a chance for the Dark Wolf Army to exact a bit of revenge after that tag team title loss. And then a 6-woman tag, Seri Yamaoka, Mirai, and Victoria Yuzuki against Nao Ishikawa, Chika Goto, and Misa Matsui. Both of these shows will be video on demand on Wrestle Universe. The Sendai Pit show on the 14th, that is going to stream on the 15th. And then the show from the 16th in Kanagawa, that is going to stream on the 17th on Wrestle Universe. Matt, what do you think about those cards?
Pretty solid enough stuff. And again, I like the fact you have kind of your main eventers against the younger talent. I mention all the time, and I think I did 3 or 4 times on this show, it's the only way for younger talent to get better is to work people better than you, So that's literally words I stole from Arn Anderson when I heard him say it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because how else are you going to learn? And the great thing with the Marigold talent, especially your main eventers of your Miko Anos, your Utamis, your Mirais, that they're willing to help the younger talent learn and get better. And thus, that's only going to make them better and make Marigold better and make pro wrestling better. Rob, at the end of the day, that's what we're here about. We're just here to make pro wrestling the best sport on God's green earth, only better. But I'm really looking forward to those, and I'm really looking forward to chatting about them with you next week on next week's episode of the Marigold Standard.
Yeah, I like the idea. I do like when they give shows identities, especially these house shows, for lack of a better phrase, and giving, again, this challenge sort of stipulation, I think is great. It'd be great to see if we actually get any upsets in these singles matches. I don't think we will. And again, Miko Ano versus Naho Yamada might not even be on the card. But Matt Turner, you know what time it is, good sir. We've done our previews. We've done our reviews. We've done the news. It is time. Oh, it is time to gaze at Julia.
Folks, our gaze at Julia the last 2 weeks on NXT. Not really too much, but last week on NXT, we had a really great in-ring. We're basically building up to Vengeance Day, which was up until last night, and I'll get there. It was supposed to be a 3-way dance for Julia's NXT championship with NXT versus Bayley versus Roxanne Perez. So 2 weeks ago on NXT, we get a really great promo segment with Roxanne Perez and Bayley. And obviously, Bayley's been there a long time. She sat under the learning tree of promos of Dusty Rhodes. So Bayley's a fantastic promo. But Roxanne Perez is like low-key one of the best promos in WWE. And considering the fact that's what WWE is known for, is their talking segments and storytelling. Roxanne Perez is a great storyteller when it comes to her promos, and basically told Bayley that she's coming for all the belts. She's coming for the Raw Women's Championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship. Julia comes in, and she basically says, not so fast. It's going to, there's no way you're going to beat me at Vengeance Day. So a little kind of 3-way promo there. And then the queen herself, Charlotte Flair, she comes to the ring and says that she might be eyeing up Julia for the NXT Women's Championship. Obviously, Charlotte Flair did win the Royal Rumble, so she does have the right to choose any championship that she will go for. And if you do remember, back at the COVID WrestleMania 5 years ago, she did challenge Rhea Ripley for the NXT Championship. So maybe that's the way she goes. Charlotte Flair versus Julia. I don't think it's going to happen, but they did plant the siege, which I thought was really good. So to end this really fantastic promo segment between the four of them, Cora Jade comes in and beats up everybody with the baseball bat, which I thought was really cool, considering her and Roxanne Perez have a little bit of heat. We go to NXT last night. Again, really not too much with Julia, but we do have a match with Bayley taking on Cora Jade. Roxanne Perez does distract Bayley, dressed up as old school NXT Hugger Bayley, which I thought was really cool. Roxanne Perez is so good. Cora Jade gets the win over Bayley, thus making this match coming up this Saturday on Vengeance Day, a 4-way dance. Roxanne Perez versus Bayley versus Cora Jade versus Julia for the NXT Women's Championship. My guess, Rob Goodwin, is that Julia is going to retain, and then at the NXT WrestleMania show, we're going to get a singles match with Cora Jade and Julia. And my guess, fingers crossed, someday at WrestleMania, either the Saturday or Sunday, we are going to get a singles match with Roxanne Perez versus Bayley. No championship, just the two of them having maybe their first singles match against each other, which I think would be great. I would love to see Roxanne Perez and Bayley tear it up at WrestleMania. So, folks, that was your gaze at Julia. And very much like this week, not much on Julia, not much on Marigold, but next week we're going to have a lot of Marigold shows to cover, and as well, Julia's big championship match coming up this Saturday at NXT Vengeance Day.
Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing to an end this episode of the Marigold Standard. We'll be back next week to talk about the Tunichi Hall show from the 11th, the shows from the 14th and the 16th, and again, looking back to Julia's NXT title defense. Will she be successful? we hope so. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We are literally everywhere. If you like your episodes early and ad-free, then you can subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast for episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 solitary a month. You can find us all over social media at the Marigold Standard or the Marigold Podcast. Marigold Podcast, that's the one. Sorry, completely got on Twitter handle wrong. Apart from on Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky, where we are at Talk Joshi. Don't forget, you can check out the website, talkjoshi.com, for all of the news, reviews, previews, stats, and championship histories to do with Marigold and indeed Stardom as well. You can talk to me on Twitter. It's at RealRobGoodwin. Mr. Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Yes, folks. Apologies for the shorter episode, but if you like the longer episodes and you like the Stardom Cast, when we record tomorrow, I have a feeling that it'll be close to 3 hours because I think we have 4 shows to cover. So yes, strap on in, folks.
5.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we didn't cover New Blood last week.
Well, there you go. Oh man, I'm excited, and then I'm gonna go see Captain America. So I'm super pumped for tomorrow, buddy. Super pumped. But folks, yeah, strap on in. It's going to be a fun one as always. As we always have a fantastic time bringing you the best coverage in all things Marigold and the Stardom Cast. Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram, on the Twitter, and the Blue Sky as well. If you want to shoot me an email address, Rob Goen. Obviously, you cannot see me. Hold on. You know what? Let's do this. There we go. Here we go.
Yeah,
Here we go. Here
what
we
a
go.
handsome devil. Look at him.
We're gonna. Hey, let's end this. You gotta end it on the high note. You gotta end the top rope brainbuster. If you want to shoot me an email, the email address is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's a wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Marigold Standard. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because we're all together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.